Why don't I hear it?
You should be able to.
Nope.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear it. Are you on?
I'm
I
in the
don't know.
live. I'm in the live
Weird. You should be
preview.
able to hear it.
I heard it yesterday.
Huh. Let's hope it's not this way all day.
It better not be, because there it goes. Now why?
No clue.
Wow. There we go. Yeah, don't know why.
That is so weird.
Do we have techno ghosts today? On the left side,
I don't know.
under editor, it's solid purple. That's live preview, it's playing. When I came in, both
They should
sides
both
were,
be showing a screen.
yeah. When I came in, both sides were that dark purple color. And so right now, editor is purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now, editor is purple. And then the live preview is playing the... It's playing.
I show them both playing.
What the hell? I'm getting old, I'll tell ya. Is Sterling loading us?
I know during when he goes live, he usually does.
Okay. 'Cause I want to thank him if he is. Were you able to get your pictures of the water?
Hold on. Okay, sorry, had to get that taken out. I do have a few pictures I can show.
Okay.
I'm not going to be able to play the video because of us moving, but I can show the pictures.
That sounds good. Do you want to explain what happened yesterday?
I'm pulling up the pictures right now. I
Okay.
didn't exactly put them up as a slideshow,
That's okay.
but I can pull them up. Especially this one right here. Let
Yeah,
me
they
screen
were,
share that.
the whole thing was kind of fascinating.
It was. Let
And
me
you
get
want me,
this started.
and you want me to move Don that way? Uh-huh.
Well, I mean, you don't got to move into this area, but as you can see, going into the major closest major city, the farmland was flooded so bad it was almost 2 foot deep across the road.
And
Birds were swimming in it.
that was from how long ago? How many days
This is
ago?
finally receded from 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks. That's been there. That is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to go through 2 feet of deep water to get to the other
two
side.
foot deep water. Yep, to get to
Wow.
where we were going. Um, and there was a couple other pictures. Let me um close this because I want to make sure I don't accidentally get any that are geosynced or
Hmm.
anything like that. So 1 second. Um, there was one. Trying not to get the ones with people's houses in them. That's the hard part.
Right.
Because these are not lakes. These are. Um, Hold on, I want to see something. Okay, no, I can't do that video. It shows the house. So, okay, yeah, that's the only safe one I have. Other than the ones further back leading up to it. That
Hmm.
was the, best one where I mean, the water throughout the trip, there were parts where it was right up to the, shoulder of the road, like, literally to the edge of the road. You had, like, 4 inches between the road and the water, and they even had to replace gravel at some of the shoulder areas.
Wow.
That's how bad it was. So,
And you
yeah.
said birds were swimming in it?
Yep, the birds were swimming.
What kind of birds?
Pigeons, whatever the hell else birds like to float on water when it's in that area. They were
Really?
using it as a bath, catching all the bugs that were floating up to the top. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Hmm.
That's
We're
interesting.
too inland for seagulls,
Right.
so I and there aren't any major real lakes where they can get fish that are close to that area.
Uh huh. Interesting. Well, I'm glad you're safe. Do you want to
Oh,
share?
my area's back under normal circumstances, but these are the areas between my place and the nearest town, the big town or
Yeah,
big city,
I
as
would.
you we would put it.
Yeah, I would hate to. Have you ever been cut off for a while from the big city?
Not down here. Up in Michigan, when I lived in Michigan, there were a lot of times that the rivers were so flooded we were stuck in for a very narrow area of roadway that we could travel,
Mm,
unless you had a four-wheel drive pickup and you could get through it,
I see.
which my dad always had. So,
Hmm.
no worries there.
Do you want to share anything at all about your trip? How exciting it was, or anything? I mean,
It wasn't well, it was fine until we got to dinner, and
right.
then the pain medicine kicked in, and yeah, put me on my ass.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like, how did it put you on your ass?
Dizziness, nausea, sleeping.
Oh my, that's not good. Are you feeling better?
For the most part.
Okay. We're not going to go get sick during programming. Is that possible?
No. No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I've been doing pretty good.
All right. And you had a good lunch too, right?
Yes.
That's
Had a
good.
good lunch.
Wow. I have heard all the drama that went on. She's lucky that she's with us. No, it wasn't that bad, but uh,
No, it
when
was
I
not
could,
that bad.
when no, well, it was in a way when I couldn't get a hold of her this morning,
Because
and
I was still sleeping.
from what, like 6 o'clock last night? Is that how long?
No, I was up and down throughout the night, like an
Okay,
hour awake, an hour asleep, hour awake, hour asleep.
I see.
So I was,
Yeah, you
yeah,
didn't.
I did not get a
Yeah,
full night's sleep. It
okay,
was mostly
up and
just
down.
in the morning after Danny got up to go to work that I finally got into a deep sleep.
Mm-hmm. That so the deep sleep would have been then when I was trying to get a hold. Well, I tried her around 8 o'clock because usually she's up by 6, Then I tried after 9 o'clock, and after 9 o'clock, I was like, oh no, I hope she's okay. And I was going to give her till like 9:30, quarter to 10.
I
And then
reached out not long after the second
I,
message.
right. And I was going to start blowing up her phone if I didn't hear from her. So, because it's very unusual for her not to be uh, online by 6 a.m. So I was a tad
Yeah.
worried there, dear, of what had happened to you. So I'm glad we got our crazy bee with us, cause she's making this show go. So
Yep. I'm trying.
you're trying hard, girl. You're trying hard, and I certainly appreciate it till you get the 2007 chick up to 2025. I don't know how I don't know how freaking long that's gonna take, but we'll do our best. So
Yep.
I think we're gonna. I think tomorrow maybe what we're gonna try to fix the laptop and see what the heck the problem.
Tomorrow morning we can,
Yeah.
for sure. I know Sunday's Easter, so
Mm-hmm.
you guys will not be seeing us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we forgot about that. Hey, Art.
Hello, Art. Been in the up and down all night thing due to the cold from hell this week. Ooh,
Hmm. Yep. In fact,
ouch.
you know.
Mine was the uh pain medication. I'm glad I only took half that pill instead of the whole pill. If I'd taken the whole one, I would have been in the hospital.
Well,
Um, I
you,
don't usually handle certain medications well, and this was one of them.
well,
I
either
needed a
that.
lower dose, but I took too high. Well, it wasn't really, it wouldn't could be considered an overdose. It was still a safe dosage, but it's not the dosage I'm used to taking. And that's why I broke it in half.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Yeah. I don't know if you would have made it to the hospital. You could have still been floating in the air for you know till you came down from it. Uh,
yeah, but
it's something
I
that.
don't like that feeling.
Yeah,
So I'm not taking that much again.
I hear you. I hear you. And I wanna give that a try and see if we get the same result because it is over the counter stuff, but it's something
Hmm.
I've never tried, and if I could get any pain relief from it, that would be awesome. Uh, but I do want to comment on. I hope Art is okay with me calling him out. Uh, I really appreciate the time that he took in the Discord. And Crazy B, I don't know if you could throw the link out for us. I know it's early in the game, but maybe you could throw it up right now. That
Give me a second while I pull up the right page because I didn't have it up.
okay. Uh,
Um,
I certainly appreciate the time that was taken to uh, talk about the housing crisis and the housing market. Uh, there's a lot of information that's in there in the Discord that is a great explanation, and the time that it takes for somebody to do that, uh, I think shows a great interest in what's being said and trying to maybe help us along with maybe things. I don't want to say get things wrong. Sometimes we do get things wrong, but adds to what we're attempting to do. And I, for one, appreciate that greatly. And if you
I
join,
do.
yeah, if you join the Discord, you'll see exactly what we're talking about because the conversation continues from what we're talking about here and it carries over into the Discord, and members can converse back and forth with one another. And if you don't want to talk uh, in a general chat with somebody, you can certainly friend them and then talk privately in your DMs, your direct messages. So if you want to friend me, you can do that. And then if you want to holler at me, you can do that in a direct message. Or you could put that out there for the world to see as well. So, uh,
Well, not the world. The
yeah,
world is not on our server.
no, not yet. Well, not yet. But if our YouTube videos get out there and they say, D such and such, it's possible it could be seen. So, the short that you put out, geez, I mean, that looks,
I haven't checked the updates on how many times that's been watched.
yeah, I didn't look either, so I'm not quite sure, but Crazy B did a good job throwing the short out with the two of us going back and forth on the day that we had problems. So I am back on my tablet still. We're going to try to clean up some of files and that behind the scenes on the laptop, and hopefully
Oh,
we'll.
that's got 196 views now.
You're kidding. Wow. That's a lot. You
Mhm.
know that is a lot for us. Wow. Congratulations,
For
Crazy.
only having what, 7 episodes out?
Uh-huh. That's really good. Yeah, we're doing well. So again, we appreciate everybody's support that's here every day. Um, Even listening to us from work or listening to us afterwards. Uh, we couldn't really ask for much more. Yes, we could, but you know, as far as please subscribe if you possibly can, and again, if you could like or follow, it means a lot. It gets that algorithm from YouTube and Rumble up and moving, and we can, get our heads above water. Uh, I can't. I really just can't fathom how we've just come across this Crazy bee. You know what I mean? How it's just been like I I don't know what to say about it. It's just crazy how well we have been doing. We appreciate everybody. Uh, it's just fantastic how we have taken off. I think that there's a niche, and we have further plans for the channel and other channels as well. And we're just trying to get started with different things. So, hey, Shoemaker, how are you?
Hello, Shu.
Sorry I missed
And
you.
JJ, I saw JJ pop in
Oh,
earlier, and
JJ's
I
in too.
wanted to say thanks for being the first likes.
Yeah. Shoo, I'm sorry I missed you. I'll catch up with you later. JJ, glad you're here. Art, again, I'm sorry I called you out, but that's the way it is. So, you,
Ah, very good minds on our
uh,
server, though. I
yeah,
mean, can't complain.
right. You can bitch me out later if you don't want to be called out. So, but it was, I was impressed. I'm glad that you took the time to do that. You didn't have to. And so that means a lot to me that you took the time to write what you did because you didn't have to. And so that's the interaction that we're trying to get amongst our members. So if you want more information about anything, join the Discord. Crazy Bee has thrown up the link. And with that, I'm done. Crazy Bee, what you got?
I've got our first video that is breaking down why Trump's tariffs are bad. We're going to alternate between bad and good because there's too bad, too good, and then we have a third. Uh, no, then we just I think that's pretty much it. Is the
Yeah,
too bad and the too good.
right. And
So
we have more tariff information, as we said yesterday, because tariffs are the hot and heavy thing right now that you're seeing in the news. Tariffs are good, tariffs are bad, and which is it? And so we have various videos that we want to play from different sources that, here's a good, here's a bad, here's a ugly, here's a, better one. So, Crazy B, you're in charge, I think, today, correct?
of the videos, you can do most of the talking. I'm still trying to get my brain to function a little
Oh,
bit
oh,
better.
well, can I talk while I eat? No, I'll eat while you play the
While
video.
we're playing the video.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
almost done. Yeah, I'm almost done with the.
Okay.
Okay, go for it. Thank you.
Alrighty.
We're going to do a deep dive on Trump's new tariff plans that he announced as part of his Liberation Day agenda on today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast, my daily show where we take on the craziest ideas from across our politics, our media, and the internet, all from an independent perspective. Up first, guys, like I mentioned, we're going to talk about Trump's huge, honestly earth-shattering announcements when it comes to new tariffs. He dubbed it Liberation Day, and with his remarks accompanying the rollout of new tariffs for basically every country or almost every country the US trades with, he gave a really remarkable speech, and we're going to react to some clips from that. First, here's the opening of Trump's remarks, where he introduces this all as Liberation Day.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy.
Liberation Day? Sorry, but there's just something like a little bit North Korea-y about that. Why couldn't it just be Tariff Day or something that didn't feel so propaganda-y? And what are we being liberated from exactly? Cheap groceries, affordable products from Canada, from Mexico, from the European Union, liberated from our savings and our 401ks? Because so many things come to mind when I hear this clip. But if the tariffs are going to make America wealthy again, why is the stock market absolutely plummeting in response to them?
Market reaction after hours, I've never seen anything like it. This, I think fair to say, is worse than the worst case scenario of the tariffs that many in the market expected the president to impose. You laid out a number of the percentages there.
Remember, guys, the stock market tracks pretty closely with what major corporations, what they expect their future profits to be. So they don't seem to think that tons of wealth is in our future after these huge shifts. Now, Trump and other tariff supporters argue that this will help US manufacturers and bring back American manufacturing, but even that isn't at all guaranteed. One of the trade associations representing American manufacturers actually put out a statement warning that they're very concerned about these tariffs because even companies that manufacture and build and create stuff here in the US rely on inputs and parts from all around the world that are about to get a heck of a lot more expensive. The National Association of Manufacturers said in a statement, the high costs of new tariffs threaten investment, jobs, supply chains, and in turn, America's ability to
I want to point out it's threatening jobs in other countries, not jobs in America. Because if we bring the manufacturing back, again, it would, help us out. Um, and actually, JJ, believe it or not, um, on this topic, I agree with you, but there's a whole bunch of other topics I agree with him on. I've been watching him for a little over a year. He is actually one of the people who voted for Trump, surprisingly. But when it comes to tariffs, I think he might not be seeing the whole picture. They're looking at the world stage, not what it would help us locally with on some things. And so on this topic, I have a whole issue with it. But again, it might hurt other countries because the jobs are coming back here, but that doesn't it might not hurt us either. And people are out there already saying that their prices have gone up, not realizing that there's been a stockpile that they have to go through before the new prices come in. So it's just wild to see the people's reaction to this. But again, it will kill jobs in America when sales fall due to higher prices, layoffs begin to result. Until manufacturing picks up again in America, I guess, it will be a problem.
Well, he
But it
did.
would
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Crazy Bee. Finish up.
Oh, because I was gonna say, I don't like did anyone think about how bad it hurt us when our jobs that were originally here went overseas? You didn't hear those countries crying when we lost our jobs. You didn't hear them getting upset when all of our steel mills and a lot of our manufacturing stuff went overseas. No one cried about the millions of auto workers who were laid off because of it. And this is again where I can't really feel bad for them. I'd like to see us get a little bit more jobs in manufacturing back here. Not everything has to be bought in America, made in America, but get us some stuff back. And that way we can have a lot more to barter with and be on the world exporting. I'd like to see a balance. I really would.
I agree, and that's been the problem. It's been unbalanced for over 20
Oh, I
years.
know it's gonna take years to
Right,
get everything stabilized. Oh,
right.
sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, they made the statement. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. I don't think that they gave a timeline, but I think we have to take that hurt a little bit in order to get back what we had lost originally. And hopefully, when that comes back, it never leaves again. Uh,
Mhm.
I will agree with him in I did not like the term Liberation Day. I did
I
feel
didn't
that,
either.
yeah, it did feel a little, like North Korean ish, as he so said. Uh, it, it, I hadn't heard anything about it in advance, and so when he said it, it just came across as really wrong. He could have, as they said it was Tariff Day or something to that effect. Uh, he could have he could have said anything but that. It just seemed as if there was a war going on or
Yeah,
something.
and we were finally liberated from
Exactly.
something.
Exactly.
And it just and again, I agree we need to do world trade. But really, what are we producing other than wheat and a few other little things
Mm-hmm.
on the world market?
Right.
And again, it seems kind of unfair that we're tariffed out the nose on all this stuff. And yeah, it's going to be a good decade before things really smooth out and everyone starts to realize this was a good thing.
Did we?
But it's
Yeah. Did we purchase?
looking at the short term, not the long term.
Mm-hmm. And that's one comment that I'll say that America is notorious for. We do not play the long game. Everything has
No
to
one
be
in America plays long
uh-uh.
games.
It's always the short game. It's always the quick gimme, gimme, gimme. And I want, instead of taking a look at what the future holds. And when you
Mhm.
look at places like, particularly China, they are always playing the long game. They have plans for, America, 25 years down the road that they plan on doing. Other countries play a long game. We don't. We rotate on this cycle of, you know, I want, give it to me right away. Perchance, did we pull the list of tariffs that he had identified what the costs were? Remember, he held up that sign?
Actually, this it gets covered a little bit in here about how some of those were actually incorrect.
All right, cool. That's cool. All right.
So, all right, I'll hit play. But I just wanted to point out that everyone's thinking, too short term and not enough globally. They're thinking of the rest of the world, but not how America is going to fit in on it. And I'd
Right,
like to see us exporting more than we already do and still have the option to import. And again, as things start to balance out, the tariffs will balance. It's
right,
just we've got to get a more level ground, is what I think is the best way to put it.
right. And in addition, the global market really has taken advantage of America, and now they're trying to figure out where do we fit in their picture. And
Yeah, right now we're just the private bank that, hey, we'll
right,
tariff you out the nose
uh-huh,
so you guys can get this stuff because we can, because you're not producing it on your own or producing enough on your own to make it worth you buying locally.
exactly.
And again, I don't mind buying from other countries, But I would also like to see us have the option to buy from American made, not just Chinese made, or just from Taiwan, or just from wherever the hell other countries.
Vietnam, any name it, they come from anywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
I've taken a look at take a look at the clothes that you're wearing, where the labels are. I'm seeing Bangladesh, Vietnam, places that I usually don't see, are now coming into our clothing market for a t-shirt.
Well, and look at all these people on YouTube. Oh, buy my t-shirts. They're American made. But actually the
Yeah.
tag says the t-shirt came from China. It
Uh,
was just printed on here in America and then sold to you. So
correct.
it's not an American made shirt.
Hmm.
And again, this is like the American made vehicles. No, American assembled vehicles. Get it right. Um, this is where again people are wanting to say American made products, but it's just relabeled stuff from other countries.
Right.
And I get it that, they're going to have to pay the cost of those things coming in, but it would be nice to see us having an option to buy an American made version of it. Just to have the option,
Well, and then
because right now we don't have all those options. Half the stuff that you see in the store is coming from parts are made mostly in China.
right, and they're garbage. It's garbage.
Oh, I
But
won't say all of it's garbage. I've got
oh,
some really good computer components from China.
but there's a lot. I would say the majority. I'd say probably, I don't know. Look it on the
Walk
shelf.
into the dollar store and look where half that stuff
Oh,
comes from.
uh, yeah, that would totally be garbage land. How long does something? But
It's
what my big thing is bringing back, and that is pharmaceuticals. Uh, I just I feel that's a national security thing. We're beholden to whatever country is manufacturing the drug, and we
again, I could see of having a choice of where we get it from. A generic brand, a name brand, like how we have, but again, I don't trust our pharmaceuticals right now for much of anything, because of what I've known them to do.
right.
I mean, there are additives into all of our everyday medications that aren't even really needed.
Sure. Right, exactly. But that's also
They're
be
fillers.
correct. And but fillers are also done uh, out of the country as well. So it's not
Yeah.
that whole the whole pharmaceutical industry needs to be revamped, obviously. And with the C word happening, that brought to light just how bad things were. But
Mhm.
it needs to be fixed, but it needs to be here at home. If you want to see, maybe a generic or a different brand from somewhere else, that's fine. Uh, I don't know. I see insurance company issues with it. Uh, who knows? But I want that crap brought back home. It's bad enough that, we're seeing delays in getting the medications. Stuff is on hold, or I got to wait more days than I did before. Um, and I don't want to be holding. I don't want to be beholden to any country that has our medication.
Mhm.
So that just
Well, and again, I like what I want to point out another thing that just hit me is the overproduction of the few things that are American, like our automotive that are assembled here. How
yeah,
many vehicles do we make each year and how many actually get sold?
right. And where do they
And
go?
then we have waste of vehicles sitting around not selling, but they can't export them to any other country because it's too expensive because we're tariffed out the nose.
But they also don't take them. And I've often wondered, where do those vehicles go? For example, there's a mall near us that they ended up closing, and they took over one of the vehicle dealers took over part of the parking lot. I mean, a
Oh,
huge.
so they have it for extra parking?
Correct. And I want to know, they're obviously not going to sell all of those vehicles. Where do they go? Many go to rental companies to be used, but
Fleets for the
right,
county and the
correct.
city type of
Yeah, they'll
stuff,
sell
but
them there. but I never see them on sale at a good price for the public. So I
Hmm.
don't see a, say, $40,000 truck on sale that you could get a deal like at 29,000. I never see that ever.
Yeah, they never go down in price. They just sit.
Yeah, and they'd rather let them sit there and rot than sell them for 29. And I guarantee you that they're selling them cheap to the county or to, for a fleet or to the other dealers. I mean, the rental companies. But why aren't these vehicles being sold to the public? I don't understand that.
They can't be sold at a better price because of all the imported parts that are assembled to it here.
Yeah.
So we're paying for the tariffs for the imports, but
Right?
we can't export them because no other country is going to drop their tariffs against us.
Exactly.
So we can't win. And here we are having to keep people in jobs and keep paying them. That's how we ended up with the crisis we did with the big three in 2008.
Hmm.
It's because, again, we're overproducing more than we're using. And that's just to keep people in a job. But these vehicles are just sitting around the country in lots. And it's kind of, alarming that we're having to overproduce and pay people the prices we do to work there on a bunch of stuff that most of us cannot afford.
Right.
Most people cannot afford a new vehicle off the lot.
Oh,
I
hell,
sure can't.
I sure can't either. And we're too, well, we were too, even if I would have still been working, there is no way. Number one, I just never would have paid that amount. I mean, my husband had to get a new work truck, and he got it. If he would have gotten it brand new, it would have been $80,000. There
How
is,
are you guys going to pull that off? That's going to
yeah,
take 20 years to pay off.
and fortunately, a guy had one that he found on sale. It wasn't on sale. The guy was selling it outright. He was closing his business, and he got it for, I think, 40 or 45. The mileage was low. It was one of those, unbelievable. We just happened to luck out. But I'll tell you what, even at 45, that is a lot of money to come up with every month to pay that. And remember, I told you his health care insurance went up to over $700, plus all the other
Yeah.
shit that it is. And it's
And you guys
ridiculous.
are still trying to keep fair prices for the customers.
That's correct. Yeah, because
So
remember,
you're seeing
he,
how this kind of stuff impacts you.
yeah, remember he goes to old people's home and doesn't charge them. So go
Yeah,
figure.
bleeding
But
heart.
yeah, I hear you. But the whole vehicle thing, when we were looking, there was just no way. No matter which way, uh, he needed a body for the back of it. We looked at different bodies and went back and forth on that, and we were talking, that was just 80 for the truck. That did not include the body that was needed to go on the back of it. The body was,
Oh, wow.
yeah, that did not include the body for it. That was just the truck itself. So you tell me how that price got up there so high. I mean, I even made him look at other brands, because he wanted a Ford. This ended up being a Ford. But I was like, you're going to go, and I don't care where the damn thing was made. We're strictly now looking at price. And it was truly ridiculous what, the American trucks are going for.
Mhm.
Dodges were, I mean, how do you even to get buy a new vehicle, a new, yes, SUV that we wanted to look at to upgrade finally, and they're $45,000. I can't afford that.
No.
Where's that supposed to come from?
And so, again, these tariffs against America have made it to the point where we're already struggling. And yes, it's going to get worse for the
Yeah,
next decade or so
right.
before it balances out. But I'm willing to sacrifice for my kids and their kids to have stable jobs and stable prices in a fair market.
So you think it's going to take 10 years?
give or take. Yeah, it might take that long. But then again, look at with Hyundai bringing in its steel
Right,
manufacturing that's supposed to take in.
right. We had a Hyundai. I really liked it. It was a very nice vehicle that we had. The other interesting piece that goes
Be
with it,
safe, JJ.
yes,
Sorry.
uh, the other thing to consider is you remember when Gavin Newsom from California threw out that he wasn't going to accept any gas vehicles from a certain time period on. They all had to be electric.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I don't know. I believe that got nixed, if I recall correctly. He backed
Yeah,
down.
because their electrical grid. Oh no, it might not have. I don't know, but their electrical grid can't handle it.
Right.
So
And they
no
don't
matter
have,
what, it's going to fail.
yeah, they don't have the charging stations or anything like that available, right? So, hold on, that's the alarm that you and I are supposed to be working. Um, so if you have a whole state that says no new gas vehicles, then what does that do to the inventory that we have in the United States then? That just makes the
It
over
hurts it even more.
yeah, it makes the overflow even worse. So,
Yep.
something to
All right,
consider. All right, go ahead.
let's hit play because we got a lot more to cover.
Outcompete other nations and lead as the preeminent manufacturing superpower. But we're going to make America wealthy again, guys. I just have to also point out that basically every credentialed economist, whether they're left, right, center, with like two exceptions, and they basically both work for Trump, opposes this, which economists disagree on stuff all the time and love to argue and fight. So when you have this degree of kind of agreement, that is remarkable. Renowned economist Tyler Cohen wrote for the Free Press, "We will be moving into a future with higher prices, less product choice, and much weaker foreign alliances. The tanking of the stock market and other possible asset price repercussions may tip America into recession and increase joblessness. This is perhaps the worst economic own goal I have seen in my lifetime. I cannot think of any credential."
I want to pause for a second. You have a good point there, Art. And this is again where it's one of those things that we need to bring some stuff back. There's quite a few countries that are working with us to bring manufacturing here.
Mm-hmm.
So it hurts us less. But China's the one that, and a couple other countries are the ones that are giving us the most grief.
Correct. I
That's
believe,
where there's people who are going to talk about this a bit today on some of the other videos,
mm-hmm.
or at least touch on it a little bit. But again, this is a no-win situation because we've bent over backwards so much that we've given up our jobs and stuff to benefit everyone else
All the other,
and not thinking about how much we've ended up hurting
right,
ourselves in the long run instead of doing this as a balanced thing.
right. All of everything that we have done to date with the tariff situation has hurt America and has made the other countries wealthy and stable. And now here we are in a position of trillions of dollars in debt. We still have a large portion of people that do not have jobs. We have the whole, illegal situation. We're in a very weird, dysfunctional place right now. And as I said, we've been used to playing the short game, getting instant gratification, and something has got to change. And I mean, I can recall when this first started, people were, oh my gosh, he's been in office for, 6 weeks, and look at why aren't the price of eggs down? I mean, that is
He didn't,
totally,
the reason the egg price
yeah,
was up was not Trump.
exactly.
It's
But
because they killed off hundreds of thousands of flocks
right,
across the nation.
right. And who was that under again? That wasn't under that Trump, but he's getting blamed for everything. And so it's real easy for the Democrats to take what is going on and twist that over to Trump and blame Trump when that is not the
Well, And but again, look at the COVID-19 relief packages that Trump wanted to put into place,
Yeah.
and they held off until Biden was assured election, but it
Hmm.
was Trump's whose name was on it.
Right.
And so he is part of the reason we have that 7
I
trillion in
agree.
debt because of
I
it.
agree. However, I will give him the why I disagree with what happened. I can see why it happened, and that had to do with Burke and Fauci and the scare on the American people and the world, actually, of how that all played out. I can see how that happened when you step back and look at it. Uh, was it right? Was it, it's easy to play, you know, armchair quarterback. I mean, we never got any of the COVID money. I don't know why. They said, when you do your taxes, you're supposed to get it back. I don't know. Uh, but I never got a COVID check. But then you had people like, Barbara Streisand, who was getting a check for her gardener who was cutting her grass. So, again, make sense. They just doled money out hand over fist and didn't pay attention to what was going on. I do disagree with, how he handled that, but I can also see when they said shut the country down, what were people going to do? So that I think that's going to be a lesson learned for going into the future. There were statements made by Fauci that he expects another something to happen during Trump's presidency here. He made some remarks recently. So we'll see what happens for the future. But
Yeah.
I'm with you, Crazy B, on that. It helped add to the deficit of where we're at right now.
Oh, yeah, he was not guilt-free on a lot of things
Right,
that went wrong,
right.
and he's not perfect,
Right,
despite what some extremists will say. He's not
exactly,
perfect.
exactly. I agree with
And
you.
again, this tariff thing is going to hurt
Hmm.
all around, but we got to get a better playing system. And again, with some of these countries moving manufacturing here to help out while things balance out, or even as a permanent thing, it would be great. We just
Right,
got to find a way to make this work at a global level so we're not always importing.
right,
And we need to have some more options,
and,
and that's my main thing.
right,
Everyone sits there is like, "I want a choice on what I get." Well, then why is all of our stuff from China and
right,
other Asian countries?
right.
Why isn't there as much here in America?
Hmm. And then think about the tariffs and the situation that we're in, and then how much money we give on top of it to other countries to help them in the way of we were doing foreign
Aid.
aid under USAID, remember? And
Yes.
all this money's going out of our country to support other countries.
Mhm.
And it's crazy. There was just an article from yesterday that in Canada, so Canada's fighting with us, saying we're not going to give in to the United States. And you know what happened? King Charles, which I hate using the word king, but King Charles from Britain throws out a statement. I am the king of Canada, and I will say what goes on with tariffs. And I'm like,
Canada broke free from direct
yeah,
rule from England decades ago.
well, he's the king of Canada, and he has, and we may be
They
hearing
I
the
thought
lawn,
they became independent a while ago.
right, and we may be hearing the lawnmower in the back. I apologize. So, yeah,
Well, all we can do is do our best to make do and hope that things balance out or transition a little bit smoother than is what we are assuming. But honestly, again, I want a better balanced playing field here. I
well,
want us to be able to import and export equally to other places,
right,
just to be fair.
yes, I,
Fixing this will take a long term plan. I'm afraid Trump has no real plan for any real ideas on how to fix what he has in some popularity. Oh, fix it. What he has is some popularity. I can only hope that maybe he does have a plan. Just hasn't put it out there. And again, we got to bring at least some kind of manufacturing back to balance this out and get these other countries to start importing from us again
Hmm.
on a meaningful level.
Yeah, I just hope that it doesn't take the 10 years that you say, Crazy B, because I really don't know if the American people will stand for that or not. But what needs to happen is all of the people in Congress really need to be out there putting this messaging out, and I haven't heard any of them really do that.
No, but here's the thing though, is again, Trump used a ridiculous excuse to put this all into effect instead of running it through Congress. He
Yeah.
called it a trade emergency.
Hmm.
That's what gave him the right to do this unilaterally,
Yeah.
supposedly. And I don't like that. I think it should have went by Congress so there could have been pushback on what could have been better.
Well, that is the whole problem with executive orders in general, right? That Congress has
Mhm.
really given up their power. I mean, they're not doing the work that they're supposed to.
They
They
weren't doing their work they were supposed to do to begin with.
exactly. So they've given up their power to the presidents, and it just isn't Trump. It's with all of them. They come in and do
Yeah.
executive orders, and Congress just lets it go. So I mean, I told you, I've been harping on this. With every executive order that he writes, Congress should have something ready to roll. That they have the House, they have the Senate, they have the presidency. Shit should be getting passed. And
Mhm.
all I see every day is Trump wrote a new executive order. Here's a new executive order. So something's got to give. But anyway, I digress. So you better
Yeah.
get
Let's
started.
try to
We'll
get a
be
little
here
bit more
till
through this movie because we're almost at the 1 hour mark as it is.
you're kidding.
No.
Well, all right.
Hello, Cannabis. Good to see you again.
Hi, Cannabis.
Credentialed economist colleague, Democrat, Republican, or independent, who would endorse it. And I haven't even mentioned the risk that some foreign nations will retaliate against American exporters, damaging our economy all the more. Now, I hope that I and basically every economist in America, I hope we're wrong about this and that it works out well for American consumers and families. I would much rather be wrong about it than be right. But regardless, even if you agree with tariffs or if you agree with the idea of what Trump's trying to do, there are a couple specific things about his approach that I actually think you shouldn't support and should concern you. And I'm going to explain those because they're so significant that even Republican senators like Rand Paul are speaking out about them. I'm going to explain and get into some detail on that. So there's another angle here. There's actually a huge constitutional problem with Trump's new tariffs. According to the Wall Street Journal, Trump's own staff claims that all his tariffs will raise $6 trillion over a decade. Whether you support it or not, that's a huge tax increase. One of the biggest tax increases in American history, probably, if those numbers are accurate. All imposed by a president unilaterally, by himself, via executive action, without any approval from Congress. That is not how it's supposed to work, as Republican Senator Rand Paul, who supports Trump, explained in an important Senate speech. Take a listen to a clip from that.
No taxation without representation. This was the rallying cry. No taxation without representation. Our founding fathers believed so strongly in this, they embodied it in our Constitution. Our Constitution doesn't allow any one man or woman to raise taxes. It must be the body of Congress. And yet today we are here before the Senate because one person in our country wishes to raise taxes. One person can make a mistake. And guess what? Tariffs are a terrible mistake. They don't work. They will lead to higher prices. They are a tax, and they have historically been bad for our economy.
I agree with Rand Paul on this. If you support these tariffs, if you really want to do this, do it the right way. Go through the proper constitutional approach. Congress is supposed to have the power to levy new taxes on Americans, our elected representatives, not the president. Now, how is Trump working around this? Well, he's doing this by declaring a national emergency to exploit powers that Congress has foolishly, in my view, delegated to the president to impose tariffs by himself in the context of a national emergency. But Those powers certainly weren't meant for this kind of thing or this broad-based effort, and the national emergency that Trump is citing is complete BS. The White House's own website says that they are declaring an emergency because of foreign trade and economic practices that have created a national emergency via large and persistent annual U.S. goods trade deficits. Trade deficits simply refers to the gap between how much we buy from another country and how much we sell to them. It's also a goods surplus. So, for example, we import more goods from Canada than we do most years, then we sell back to them, so we end up with more goods and they end up with more money. That's what our trade deficit with Canada means, and the US trade deficit refers to add up all the trade deficits we have with every country or trade surpluses. What does it come out to? And it is, in most cases for the US in recent history, a deficit of hundreds of billions of dollars. Now, most economists don't think that's a bad thing. We get more goods and services we value, and we pay people for them. That's all that number represents. But Trump views it as an emergency and spoke about it in some pretty alarming terms in his speech. Take a listen to this second clip.
For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike. American steelworkers, auto workers, farmers, and skilled craftsmen. We have a lot of them here with us today. They really suffered gravely. They watched in anguish as foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, and foreign scavengers have torn apart our once beautiful American dream. Our country and its taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years, but it is not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen.
Some countries do have unfair and illegal trade practices that they engage with us. China is a great example of that. But just across the board, I don't think that other countries selling Americans goods they want is raping us. I do not think that when we import lumber from Canada and then use it to build homes here in the US, we are being raped. I don't think that when trucks bring bell peppers in from Mexico to be sold in US grocery stores and I buy some and make fajitas at home that night, I don't think I'm being raped. Trump views any deficit in trade as us being ripped off, but I just think that's wrong. And I think it's a false premise that underlies his entire worldview when it comes to trade. But even if you disagree with me, even if you do think that the trade deficit is a serious problem, it's not a national emergency in the way Trump is trying to declare it to be. If you look at the graph of the US trade deficit over recent decades, both as raw dollar terms adjusted for inflation, but also as a percentage of the size of the economy, we've had significant trade deficits of hundreds of billions of dollars. It's not a new thing. So I don't see how you can claim that it's an imminent national emergency, like a hurricane just struck, or like a pandemic just started that's raging across the country. A long-term economic factor you would like to change is not a national emergency. And it's certainly not what Congress envisioned when it authorized the president to take emergency powers in real emergencies. By this logic, get ready for future Democratic presidents to declare a climate emergency or a student debt emergency or whatever they feel like to just do what they want to do by exploiting emergency powers. That was already done during the COVID pandemic, especially by Democratic elected officials, and now Trump's doing it too. We can expect that trend to get worse unless Congress actually steps up and rescinds some of those emergency authorizations, which I think they should. Now, one piece of pushback I get when I discuss this topic, and one thing Trump keeps saying, is that they're doing reciprocal tariffs.
In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal. That means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple.
And this is what starts the tariff wars. And this is where it will definitely hurt us more than it will probably hurt some of these countries, especially places like China. I think that's. But then again, I watched a video claiming China's not as strong as it appears to be, which I want to try to get to today. So, again, this is where it's so frustrating for me, is because It's going to hurt everyone in the end if we end up in a tariff war.
Well, I think that we have 75 countries coming to the table. I think that says a lot. I think they realize that we mean business, and so I think we're going to probably see more of a fairness, but it's just going to take a little bit of time to have those prices and that in there. The other thing, as far as pricing in the United States goes, if you take a look at price increases, no matter where, now gas stations are a little bit different, but if you go to the grocery store and you're paying, $3.50 for a bag of potato chips now that used to cost you $3, I have never in my life seen a manufacturer go back to that $3 mark. People are paying the higher prices, and the companies are taking the higher price. I don't know of anybody that has really backed down to what the original pricing has been. So I think pricing is going to stay where it's at, and hopefully, wages and everything, they've been stagnant. They should hopefully kick up. And with these jobs coming back, I mean, they're talking about hundreds of thousands of jobs coming back to the United States, manufacturing jobs. That would be fantastic.
But
I
also remember, most of our factories are in no
are
shape to take back
exactly.
in
So
stuff. We
they're
got to
going to
build
need
up these
that,
manufacturers again.
and that's going to take time to get that done. And then the
Uh,
other,
really quick, I want to say good luck, JJ. I hope it goes well.
yes, good luck. The other rub has been that I've been hearing from the HR world is nobody's going to want to take those jobs. Nobody's going to want to work in manufacturing. Uh, and I think that's bullshit. Uh, and I really think that where they could get some good usage out of that is start talking to the kids in high schools about it to be
We've been
prepared.
pushing my son to get into manufacturing, but
Uh-huh.
down here he's got to have a high school diploma first.
I see.
So we're working on getting that, and then he can work a factory line. That's perfect work for him.
Hmm.
It's simple, it's not overtaxing,
Right,
it's not as I mean, they're gonna demand numbers and you do it right
right,
and get it through, but
right.
once he knows what to do, he
Mm-hmm.
will do it exactly the way he's supposed to and keep going.
Right.
And
There's
again, my son's on the autism spectrum, so
right,
repetitive work is
is
what
good.
he
Right.
needs.
And there are jobs that I worked medical manufacturing, and I actually went into the clean room to try to make supplies. I don't know how people do it because it was it was difficult to do because you had to work with both hands. I actually would hire people, and they would leave on the break. They would just walk out the door, not come back,
Yeah.
because there are some jobs that are complicated, and the good piece was, they paid a high rate at the time. So I think there's going to be a huge opportunity for people, and
And
especially,
again, well, also remember through the 80s and 90s, there was a push to get your degrees.
right,
Now we need to dial back that push.
exactly. It needs to be kind of like the micro of, these are the
We
jobs.
need a balance.
Yes, there need
Equal amounts to manufacturing, equal amounts to university.
right, and
You
there's
don't
nothing
have to
wrong with
have a
it.
degree to push
Right,
buttons on a damn machine.
right, and to make good money. There's nothing wrong with working in the steel mill. When I worked in public works, I went to one of the facilities that manufactured, they made all of the grates and all of the, the lids to manhole covers and things like that. They cast those into cement. Uh,
I thought that's ironworks more than
well,
steel.
no, that wasn't, it wasn't iron. It was, yeah, no, I can't think of it. It was a metal. Okay, it was not steel, but it was a metal that they used, and they poured it.
Metalworks.
Yeah,
So,
they poured it into a, cast, and each one
mhm.
was made separately. It was not made on an assembly line. So
Yeah.
there's varying manufacturing jobs that are going to be out there. The other thing is They could use, with Trump's policy, what they're going to be doing with trying to take people off of the welfare rolls. I could see taking some of these people and putting them into manufacturing jobs. That would be a real easy way for them to find jobs that would be available. So there's
Well, we
be a
have two
win-win.
comments with really good points.
Mm-hmm.
Cannabis says, I have 5 associates with BSW and MSW degrees that mainly grow cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
And Art says it takes 5 guys with a PhD to design a bridge, 500 guys with GEDs to build it. Not
Yep.
everyone needs a PhD.
Exactly.
Bingo.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what we're all saying. Wasted degrees so
Yep.
the colleges could get more money.
Correct.
And this is again, it just frustrates me how unbalanced everything is.
Well, and it's unbalanced because it was permitted for
Decades of
decades.
destroying America.
Correct. For this stuff to disappear slowly but surely, and to let have our government permit this to go on, and the people not stop it. I think now we're in a position that everything could be seen. You know,
Yeah.
the curtain has been pulled, and now we know exactly where we stand. And we have supported the world to where other countries are rich. You know how I feel about all of this. I am, America first. We need to get our shit together, and then I'm willing to help anybody else out. But again, family and friends can't eat. Veterans, homeless, all of that. That needs to be
Well,
fixed.
and here's one thing people are also not taking into consideration. And this is something I mean almost everyone. We are in a very closed global system. We are not trading with other planets. We cannot expand manufacturing more than a global level.
Well, so you're saying you want to put manufacturing on Mars with Elon Musk? Is that what you're saying?
Well, unless we have somewhere
Mhm.
else to trade to, we can only do a limited supply no matter what
Right.
here on
On the globe.
Earth.
Exactly.
So why are we fighting to be top in this, top in that,
Hmm.
when we only have so many people to trade with?
Right.
Why don't we divide up? Hey, your country's good at manufacturing this, you guys do that. Your country's good at manufacturing that, you guys handle that. And
Hmm.
then everyone just kind of trades that way. Make
Hmm.
it a very balanced cyclical trading system instead of just every one country has to be better than another. But we're not on a mentality as humans to do that
Right.
because humans are to that level. And again, until we start trading with other planets, we're kind of stuck having no choice but to come up with this.
Hmm.
And it's again, you're not stupid, son. He just said because people are stupid like him. No, they're not. You're not stupid. But it's a mentality. It's not even about intelligence. It's just a mentality.
Hmm.
And unless there's a global goal, um, that division is more or less what we've done despite Trump's rhetoric. But what are we manufacturing that's really benefiting us to export on the same level that I mean,
We're
other than
support.
Canada,
Right.
other than Canada, what other countries were we really trading with?
I mean, in Canada has screwed us from every which way to Sunday. The price of butter, 300% tariff. I mean, take a look at the chart of the tariffs that they've put on the United States. It's crazy.
But again, Canada does not have the industry to refine its own oil, and it's
Right.
got more wood than what it can actually do anything with.
Hmm.
We get most of our building lumber, but how many buildings can we really build? We're again overproducing in a lot of countries with no one to sell it to.
Well, our housing market is leaves a lot to be desired. Without lumber, they should be able to be building a lot of homes. There's no reason why that couldn't occur.
But again, how many homes do we really need to build?
Apparently, a lot because there's supposedly a housing shortage. that people don't, there's no homes for people to get into.
Well, that's because the banks would lose out profit if we made homes for everybody so
True.
affordable. And
True.
then who's going to want to buy a second home or a third home or a fourth home? It's a controlled market flow.
Hmm. I think there's, I think that there's probably workarounds for all of it. Is the ideas that we both have the right ones? Probably not. Probably they wouldn't be considered, but there are definitely options out there that we need to take a look at that we have not been doing. I mean,
And oh, Art has a comment. You expect farmers in Vietnam to buy a 50K truck when they earn $2 a day. Why is Vietnam holding their people back?
mhm,
Why aren't they exporting stuff and giving their farmers more? Again, when the government sits there, like how some governments do, and take all the aid and don't put it where it belongs, it becomes a problem. This is again where the world is not fair and it's screwing up the rest of the world. Because as much as this stuff is exported from Vietnam, none of the money actually goes to the workers, it just goes to the government.
right. Look at China. Look at the slave labor that they have that, manufactures goods. Look at how cheap they live off of every single day. They barely make ends meet. Same way with, I mean, I even give credit to people that have come here. I disagree with the border being open. I understand why, but it's, again, I have said, it's not our job to be the world's police or the world's fixer upper. Each country should have within their own government the ability to take care of its citizens. And we've supported people for decades. I mean, for a long, long time. And look at the situation we're in. We're in a really bad place right now.
And again, we can't force these other countries to do what's right and divide up the share to the people who deserve it.
Hmm.
And it's hurting other countries by them doing that too.
And I don't even want to throw in, which you and I have not even brought up the subject, but then there's the whole issue of what is AI going to take over? I don't even,
Mm.
yeah, uh huh. That's a whole nother discussion. What is that going to do to the industry? I see customer service.
Oh, I
Yeah,
was talking about this with someone the other day because Faye sent the article to me. They're using automated semis now between Ohio and
I know.
Indiana.
Yes. Can you imagine going down the highway and seeing a tractor trailer truck with no driver in it? I just
And
can't.
again, what happens to the workers?
Uh huh. They're gone.
Like our automotive industry went downhill.
They said that once that takes over, uh, AI
We're going
takes
to have
over.
more poverty than we're going to have wealth.
That's exactly correct. So we need to bring back whatever we can bring back for to have jobs.
I mean,
If
it's bad
we,
enough some of the fast food places have those freaking AI orders
uh
where you
huh.
pull up to the sign and you have to verbalize your order to a computer that then puts it to the person who's cooking.
Mm-hmm.
I
Or
don't like it.
or you go into one of the we have
Self-serve Walmarts.
exactly, or we have that in some of our McDonald's. There's no cashiers. You
Yeah, it's
go,
just a
you're
kiosk.
yeah, you're standing at a kiosk.
And
And
this is
I
the kind of
told
stuff
you,
I don't
right?
like.
And I told you that's happening at the hospital, right? I check in at a kiosk. I find out they took a freaking picture of me that I didn't any. I never approved it, but it was a picture of one of the times that I had checked in, and we've talked about the necessity of a picture or not a picture. It's just the fact that they didn't ask, but these kiosks have taken the place of human workers. So that's one of the reasons why when I do my banking, I call the bank and I get a person. I try to keep, I feel that, I keep having a human there, they'll still have a job, that I get to
Mhm.
pester somebody, live. Anytime I can deal with a human, I will do so. I will not interact with an AI customer rep person if I don't have to. But then you're screaming the whole time, you do human person or whatever you do, and um, you know, I'm screaming customer service rep to get somebody live. It it is a what the future holds for jobs. Just read some information, and maybe I'll see if I could pull something, and we could put it up on the Discord. Uh,
Actually, Art just brought up a good point. The reason the workers go away is because it becomes too expensive compared to automation. That
hmm
is what unions figured out when they tried to hold automakers hostage back in the 70s and 80s. My
right.
dad worked in automotive, so I'm very aware of the system. Actually, my dad did tool and die, and then he went to be a line worker at a factory, and they got mad at him because he's like, this machine's not working right. You got to fix this. They're like, what do you know about it? He goes, because I made these machines before I came here to work with them.
hmm
And oh, they hated that about my dad because my dad did tool and die. He knew how to make these machines. And so, yeah, it is becoming a problem. Hello, Brent. I see you there.
Hey, Brent.
Just like the grocery stores, they have 100 self checkouts and two full
Yep.
service open. The
hmm
people are going to work, not the employees. Exactly. I refuse to use the self checkout
So do
when I'm
I.
in a store.
Yeah,
I
I.
will
There's.
not put a
It's bad
person out of a
enough. Yeah,
job.
it's bad enough. I had to walk around the store, put the stuff in there, and then you want me to become the cashier on top of it. You want me to scan my
On
own.
top of the fact that they raised the prices of food. Lower the
Correct.
prices of food if I got to scan it and bag it
Exactly.
myself.
Then you had to scan it. Then you had to put it in the bag. Then you had to get it in the car. And I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm not doing this. So I would always wait for a cashier to become available. Uh,
Mhm.
but you see it more and more where it's this
Oh, shit,
automation.
torch.
So it is something that everybody needs to be aware of. So whatever jobs we can possibly bring back and
Closest
something
window,
for
turn the
people to
AC
do,
on.
we need we need to do it because we're going to have job losses. What's going
Mhm.
to happen when we have these thousands of truck drivers that are going to be replaced with automobile, trucks that are driving themselves.
Brent says that I guess where he's at, they're getting rid of the self checkouts now. Too much stealing.
Yeah.
Brent liked using them when he was in a hurry,
hmm
but I don't like putting people out of work. What, baby? What do you? Bring it here. Bring it here so I can see how to fix it. Or I guess our house numbers fell off.
Hmm.
How? How does the house numbers fall off? That
That's
doesn't make
interesting.
sense.
The wind came by,
Um,
blew it off.
Now they brought back the 12 items or less lanes. Okay.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Let me
People got frustrated.
running out of time and we got yeah.
Well, we'll just have to carry this to Sunday, crazy
Oh,
big.
here. Don't need to pick up new zip ties, baby. Hold on. I have
And
some right here.
everybody, please be patient while Crazy Bee attends to
Well,
it.
I still need you to hang it up. How many do you need? Two or four?
The
Okay.
letters on her house have fallen off, and
Here.
we need to know where to get her at in the event of emergency.
uh,
We're
you
at
gotta.
where she hates that. One moment, please. Technical support is on location.
Yeah, my daughter's trying to figure out how to
Okay, so Brent was in
push it through.
Walgreens the other day, and they had Listerine locked in a case. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Most items. Take a look at New York City. Everything is under lock and key. Most of their Targets, Walgreens, CVS, every single item was under lock and key. And when I used to shop, my husband will tell you, I picked everything up, I looked at it, put it back on the shelf, went to look for something else, went back to the original item. I spent a couple hours when I grocery shopped, for the family, because I did everything at one, had a big order. Sometimes I had two grocery carts, and uh, I couldn't imagine doing that now. I'd have to have one of the workers with me with the key the whole time. Open this case up. I need the Listerine. Okay, go open that case up. I need some toilet paper. Go open that case up. I want to buy a DVD. Who wants to
Yeah.
shop like that?
No, I don't. But that's what happens when they make stealing legal.
Exactly. That's the other thing. So crime goes
And
along
that just
with it.
hurts companies and jobs.
Correct. I mean, look at how many stores closed in New York over it. The uh, the issue of stealing. So
Uh, Let
we're
me hit play
go.
because we're at an hour and 20 minutes in, and
Well,
we're
worst
only still on the first video.
Well, we're gonna have to carry it on to Sunday. We were hoping to be done
We're
today,
not
but
going to be here Sunday.
oh, that's right. So it might have to be finished up on Tuesday.
Okay.
Unless we
Let
put
me
it
hit play.
unless we put it in their Easter baskets. I don't know what else to tell you.
All right, let's hit play.
Get any simpler than that.
The idea here is that, well, we're just going to charge other countries what they charge us with in tariffs and trade barriers. Now, I've never been particularly compelled by this because I think tariffs are harmful to your own citizens. So just because other countries are engaged in self-destructive economic policies, that doesn't mean I think we should as well. But maybe it would be a good idea if it actually led to an end result where both sides lowered their trade barriers and their tariffs. But I've always thought to just lead to a tit for tat escalation where we end up with bigger barriers in the end. But the bigger problem is that they say they're doing reciprocity, but they're not. Let me explain. The White House put out this massive chart that they've had circulated all over the media and the internet where they list the supposed rates that other countries are charging us and then state the rate that we will be charging them back in the name of reciprocity. But this sheet is just totally wrong. Whatever formula they use to come up with these numbers isn't remotely accurate. As the economist Ryan Bourne pointed out on Twitter, high tariff Brazil faces the same reciprocal tariff as near unilateral free trade Singapore of 10%. Israel, an ally that dropped its tariffs on the US, sees a higher US tariff, 17%, than our adversary of Iran. How does any of that make sense? It was also pointed out on Twitter that other numbers here aren't accurate. For example, the fact sheet claims that South Korea is charging us a 50% tariff, but we have a trade agreement with them and it's actually much lower. In the same way, the EU is not charging the US a 39% tariff, but that's what it claims on the fact sheet they put out. In fact, the federal government and the Trump administration's own publicly available data contradict the numbers they put on this Liberation Day propaganda chart. As journalist Tiana Low-Dosher pointed out on Twitter, Cambodia does not tariff American goods at 97%, and Brunei does not tariff at 47%, like the Trump fact sheet claims. She writes, "How do I know the Trump administration's Liberation Day roster is filled with completely made-up numbers? Because the Trump administration's top two trade websites directly contradict them." She cited trade.gov and ustraderepresentative.gov to point out the numbers that directly contradict what the White House's fact sheet stated. Now, the Trump administration could claim that their numbers are so much higher because they're also coming into account, they're trying to include non-tariff barriers to trade. But still, it's all wrong. Tiana pointed out, the World Bank and the United Nations have spent decades creating new econometric methods to quantify non-tariff barriers. One OECD method shows that Japan, which already has one of the lowest tariffs on us, also has some of the fewest non-tariff barriers, while Russia has the most. But Trump said Japan tariffs us 46%, neglecting to even add Russia to his list. So the whole
Russia's under
Oh, Russia
sanctions.
has
That's why
sanctions.
we can't trade with them.
Right. Yeah, so this is, again, not all the information's being provided.
Yes, Trump is doing his own share of propaganda right now.
Hmm. Right?
And again, it's still better than Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Do want to point that out.
Yeah.
But again, this is where the this is not the art of the deal. This is not.
Or it is the art of the deal. It's possible.
I
Oh,
don't
and
see
we'll have
how.
to see. I
When
mean,
you lie about the
uh,
numbers.
yeah, where the numbers come from, that was put out, and everybody went up in arms, right? But 75 countries came to the table. Why, and why was that?
And again, Russia's not on there because they're under sanctions right now.
Right.
We
Correct.
can't trade with them.
Correct. And
That's just not allowed. Like we don't trade with North Korea.
hmm
We don't trade with other places that
oh,
are under
yep,
sanctions.
Iran we don't.
Just
Right. But
well, no, we do still some to a degree with Iran, mostly oil, I believe it was.
okay. Uh
Even though Europe, I believe, has them sanctioned.
okay. I thought we
I'm
had
not
them.
sure if we
Yeah.
do.
I don't recall. I thought we did, but that's, you could be right on that. And then the big holdout is China. And we knew that was going to happen. It didn't matter what he said, whether it was,
Hmm.
0, 1, 2, or, 1,000. China's going to hold out, and it's going to be uh, a huge issue. But something has to be done about them. And that's, I think, a totally separate discussion or area for the United States to take a look at compared to some of these other countries. Although we
Hmm.
have made China uh, richer beyond, I think, some of their dreams
Well,
may.
that's the next video I want to cover
Okay,
is what they're saying China's actually at, not what we believe they're at.
okay, that sounds
And again, I didn't exactly see proof provided in the video, but it's still worth taking into consideration.
good. You got it. Oh, definitely. Yeah, Art, they all play the game. Trump just isn't the only one. Every single one of them plays some type of game, make up some type of half truth, an out and outright lie. Uh, there isn't one of them that I could trust as far as I could throw them. Uh, and
It's
that
why
goes.
I've been on the fence about all this tariffs. I just want to see manufacturing brought back to America.
And plus, you have to also take into consideration the culture of the other countries that you're dealing with. There are some that will be probably right up, and I don't want to name names, but up and up, honest. There's other countries that are going to be more difficult to work with. You have to know what the culture is and who you're dealing with. It's just not like we're going to another country and they're on the same page as the United States. Each country has their own uh, financials, their own. Uh, what am I trying to say here, Crazy B?
Their own economies.
Yeah, their own economies, correct. Um, and along with that, they have their own uh, way of doing things, not not the way that the United States is. They're playing a long game. They want different things. So we're up against various countries that uh, have different types of plans in place. So, and remember, their countries are also playing games as well. How do we know that those countries are telling us the truth? Do we know that? No, I don't think so. I think a lot of countries have, lied to us about many things. So
I still stand by. I just want to see some more jobs back in
I do.
America.
Yep, it's all a game. It's all how you play the game, and that's how the art of the deal came about. Uh, and as Crazy B said, the shit needs to get brought back to this country. That's all. And I
I
don't know
still
how long.
all I can say is I've always pointed out where Trump has done stuff that was a flat out lie. I'm the first one.
Yeah.
I got in trouble on many platforms for what happened in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Countries have interests, they don't have friends. And they will do what's in their best interest, which may mean not dealing with the US. Once that starts, it's hard to reverse. And
Well,
again,
and
this is
that,
where I break really benefiting each other. It seems like America is getting less and less choices in where we get products from, and and we kind of are getting screwed with the price no matter what.
right?
When it's
And that's the
it's
word.
not fair and it's frustrating.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Art. Is the interest that the country has, and it's not that they want to be our friend. You're absolutely right. It's what's in the best interest of their country. So at this point, I'm going to argue what is in the best interest of our country. It's time for America to take America back. And if that means losing some things, that means losing some things. But we need to look out for the American worker.
But
And
it is going to hurt us in the process
that's correct.
too. And I
Correct.
see the pros and cons if this works out.
Correct. And that's where the gamble is, right? That's the risk that we're attempting. This is something that has not been undertaken by anybody else to date. Everything has been on the status quo. So this is a risk that we're going through. But
Well,
the voters voted for this. Trump was when he was on the campaign trail, he said that he was going to do the tariffs. He said that it was going to hurt. So people should not be surprised. The issue is the left is picking this stuff up and make turning it into huge propaganda, and the right is not coming back and counteracting that in a way I think they should be. The right is just sitting on their ass doing absolutely nothing, in my opinion.
but I want to point out to this other comment that he made. The only thing giving us less choices would be the tariffs, except 90% of our stuff is coming from China.
Right,
I want a TV. Guess where it's made? Not in America.
right.
I need a new t-shirt. Guess where that t-shirt's made? Not in America. I need
I
a new pair of shoes. Not made in America. I don't get a choice. I have a different choice of brands, but most of the brands are not made in America.
They all come from China. I wanted a new laptop. It came from China. I needed
It's
it.
like I
Yeah,
of choice
yeah.
is what it is. I
So
mean, hell, your iPhones. Everyone with an iPhone, guess where that comes from?
China.
Not America.
That's right.
Apple's bringing stuff back to America. They are going to be bringing some manufacturing back, but it's an American company, but it's made elsewhere.
And
And
that
again, that's my frustration.
right,
Is no matter what, it's going through some of these other countries, so it's an illusion of choice.
right. And some of the iPhone is that manufacturing in Germany, correct? Because Germany was going to try charging when you did the upgrade.
Yes,
Remember
some
we
of the
covered
parts
that?
are manufactured in
Right,
Germany.
right.
Yes. And
And
again,
so,
this is part of the frustration. By all means, bring production back, but understand that will have everything has consequences. I
yeah,
know.
right, right.
But
And
we
that's
also have a lot of people without jobs, so people in other countries can get paid even less to live on. And yeah, by their standards, they're still living in conditions that to me seem unfair to them for how much work they put in.
right. Now, what
And this is where the frustration is coming in. Their people are being treated poorly for all the hard work they put in. And here we have people who can't even get food on the table.
right,
It's a no-win situation because we are in a type of again. We're in a closed trade environment. We only have so many places to trade with. And I don't like tariffs at all. Honestly, I wish there was a way to get rid of them all and just do a trade and get the hell over it. Pay the shipping cost, fine.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we got to make extra off the top?
Right.
Why does this happen? Oh, greed,
I was just going to say
corruption.
that. I was just going to say that. We're on the
And
same
it's not the
page.
corporations that
Great.
are greedy, it's the
Yes.
politicians and
Citizens that are
the
greedy.
governments.
That's correct. Because remember,
I
we looked at that.
actually have his I actually have a statement from Reagan about tariffs.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
Yes. Go
well,
ahead.
that thought just went out the window with what you.
Oh, I'm so
But
sorry.
that's okay. No, that isn't you. Whatever you said last. I was going to make a comment about we had shown on one of the videos, but that's okay. It'll come back. Um,
Oh, I was talking about how the politicians and the governments are why we have
oh
all
yeah,
these extra taxes on other
that's
countries.
why we just showed the video where the example was the wheat. That was just the other day, right? So the wheat
Yeah.
leaves the United States. It's supposed to go over to, say, Africa. And what was it? Like 70% of it ends up being returned to the United States and
No, the cost.
the
That
cost.
was the cost wise, not
Oh,
the product itself.
no, there's one that we have that I'll have to pull it then. There's
It
one that,
was the allocated pricing the allocated money for it.
okay,
Okay, so we allocate $2 million to send wheat to Africa, but
right,
we're the ones paying for the shipping and the production and all of that, the logistics.
right,
And they end up getting the wheat for free, but we pay the cost. That's where that money is allocated for, is paying the cost for all of the logistics.
right. But there's something where we have where money comes back. I don't know if that was part of the USAID. I'll have to look at that again,
It was
crazy.
part of the professor's video yesterday, and
Okay,
that's what I just broke down, is that the cost of the money we set aside
yeah,
to ship all that 20 tons of wheat to Africa
right,
for $2 million, let's
yeah,
say,
this,
and most of that 2 million is used on the logistics to make it happen.
right,
They still get it for aid. The wheat
right,
is their aid, but the money we set aside for getting it there, it stays in America.
right. And is that the one where then it's distributed back to politicians and things? Is that where that
Yeah,
goes?
kickback,
The
and the
kickback
company
and everything.
owners, not
Right,
everyone in America benefits from it, but a very select few do benefit
right. That's what I
from
was
the
trying to
aid.
get. Okay,
Yes.
that's what I was trying to get at. That when, so it's the money that stays here, and then that's used to give the kickbacks to uh whomever
Yeah.
is in the chain, in the line.
Yeah. And that's why I say, I don't mind bringing back some production to America. I like, not everything needs to come back, but again, you know, we got to have something for people to do here too. I
Right.
can't vehicles, and again, vehicles were always a tight budget. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what, it's our cost of living ratio to income really hasn't changed much, and most
No,
people
it
don't
has.
get that.
Right. It has
They
not.
want more money because they think it's gonna give them more to have for spending. No, because then the cost of the products are gonna go up
That's
too.
right. That's
And
right.
a house that cost $5,000 in the 20s is no different than the 50,000, 70,000, $80,000 homes of the 80s, and the 150, 250, $350,000 homes. The homes haven't changed, but because we demanded more money for our work, the cost of the products have gone up too. The
Correct.
ratio stays the same. We're
Right.
never going to break away from that because there's no way to do it.
And that's where I'm arguing the point of, to my children, to my oldest who just had JJ, where he's complaining about, he doesn't have enough money and bills are hard to pay, diapers are expensive, and he goes on and on. And I said, well, guess what? When I had you, the country was in the exact same position. Things were almost exactly the same. And I said, your dad and I went through the exact same thing. I understand what you're talking about. And here's ways to, you know, help in getting, through these tough times. This is all cyclical that we go through. This just isn't where we're at right now, brand new out of the water. Maybe we're a
But
little bit
again,
worse off, you know.
this is again where jacking up tariffs on other countries and stuff and other things makes it complicated, but letting them take full advantage of us, what appears to be full advantage at
Right.
least, isn't helping our. And again, I don't think tariffs alone will be the solution to fixing our deficit.
I
There's no
agree.
way.
I agree.
They're going to make more of a. They're not going to fix it. We got to get our government to quit spending.
Right.
And again, this is where we got to find a way to balance the world out. Otherwise, it's going to be continuous cycles back and forth until we destroy ourselves.
Well, I just don't want it. I just don't want it to be something like, where it's the WEF, or we become this global make it right.
Disaster.
Yeah. I was going to say try to be a little bit nicer about it, but
Well, but here's
make
the
it
thing,
right.
what I was even suggesting is kind of in line with the global economics,
Yeah,
okay? What
it is.
I suggested, but we're not at a mentality that's ready for it.
I
Because
agree.
the only way we're gonna be able to pull off a World Economic Forum type of thing is if we have outsiders to trade with outside of our planet. So until we get something like Star Trek or whatever other ones from the
I
80s,
don't
the
know if
whole
they're gonna.
sci-fi
I don't know if
stuff,
they're gonna want our shit. So I don't think they're gonna want my knickknacks from the house.
because
So
there's no way we're going to
yeah,
be able to do this.
right.
We're not at the mindset. An economy will always result in equilibrium eventually. If you change one thing, it will ripple out into until everything is balances again. That's why minimum wage hikes don't work in the end. And that's what I was screaming about from the beginning.
I will argue about minimum wage. I mean, our minimum wage is still at $7.50. Okay.
Well, we're talking like what happened in
Y-
California and other places,
Right.
even down here.
Yeah.
They're trying to minimum beginning wages for
So that's a
McDonald's is
lie.
14 an
Yeah.
hour.
Right.
Yeah, that's so beneficial.
Right. I got
And
to double
again,
check that.
everybody wants a living wage for the least amount of work put in.
Right.
It doesn't work like that.
Well,
And
every.
Art says
Yeah.
we don't control the world, so we can't fix the world's problems. And here we
Exactly.
have people in governments around the world trying to force this. And we're not in the mindset to do it. The world is not mentally ready to have a peaceful existence. We still fight over religions.
Mm-hmm.
The least we can do is make all again, get our health care system fixed, get our working force, our labor force fixed. And again, why would people who are homeless want a job when it's so easy and everything is handed to them at a food bank or a shelter?
Well.
They don't want to go to work when they can just walk up and get it. Why would I need a home when I can live out of a tent that they gave me for free?
Well, that's true. I just double checked, and our minimum wage has been 7.25 an hour since 2009.
Yes.
So
But our cost of living really
has
hasn't changed except for inflation changing it.
exactly. I mean, who can afford? You can't afford a mortgage on that. You can't afford a car on that. How are you?
Can't even afford to buy empty land and build a house on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you pay
Hell,
rent on
you can't
that?
afford to rent on
I was gonna say,
$7.25 an
that's
hour.
right. So you wonder why, there's why there has to be social services. I don't know
But
how.
then again, they trap people into poverty depending on the government, and then you end up with a socialist economy, a
Exactly.
socialist system like you see in Russia and China and other
Hmm.
places.
Yes, it's ridiculous. But then we have signs up at McDonald's, $14 an hour.
And how much of the food has the food gone up? The
Yep.
dollar menu went bye-bye
Oh, yeah,
really fast.
exactly. I mean, it can cost anywhere for four of us, $40 and up to have McDonald's, which is
Mhm.
absolutely ridiculous considering it's garbage
It
food.
used to be
Yeah,
$20 a person.
exactly. Yep. You know,
Not a person, for all 4 people. I
family. Yeah,
apologize.
yeah.
That didn't come out right.
I I knew what you meant for a family.
Yeah.
So it
The
it
world is messed up because too many people, again, we have a group of we have a generation coming into the workforce that wants to do the bare minimum for the top
right.
dollar,
Yep.
and they don't understand what work ethics are.
Yep.
They don't understand hard work. Then you take in, because of that behavior that started back a while ago, it started coming in, and then the push for, oh, you have to have a higher degree to even get a medial
Job.
mid-wage job in the world.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter what you set minimum wage at. It's never it was never meant to be a living wage. Exactly. It was for teenagers. Yes. And the problem is, when the big automotives had to be bailed out and they laid off and got rid of a bunch of people, people took early retirement thinking it was going to go under. Those people started working at McDonald's and Walmart and minimum wage jobs, and they could no longer afford their lifestyle. So instead of downsizing, they started demanding higher pay. And guess what their kids are doing now? And their grandkids are doing the same thing.
Okay, so I wanted to verify this. The primary purpose of a minimum wage is to ensure that workers receive a base level of compensation and protect them from exploitation by
Yeah.
employers. It aims to provide a floor for wages, preventing excessively low pay and helping individuals afford basic necessities. Additionally, minimum wage can be a tool to reduce poverty and inequality. Um,
To a degree. And
mm,
again, it's like a supplemental income. You want to save up to go on a trip, so you pick up a part-time minimum wage job for a year.
right,
It wasn't meant to be living wage, and that's one of the things I keep getting frustrated about. But as our own our own stuff overproduced, automotive,
mm-hmm,
not enough people were buying. It's not like we could export any of our automotive. Nobody wants to buy it at the prices we charge for it now because, again, I understand why unions are great, but they also have a bunch of corrupt ones that jack up the rates. So you're paid $30 to push two buttons because you've been there for 25 years.
right. I have a,
And I've seen this, and I've known people who've gotten that pay for pushing two buttons 8 hours a day.
mm-hmm,
And so again, is the exploitive behavior, and I get it. You should not be working for 50 cents an hour, putting in 10 hours a day. That's unfair. We need to have some kind of fairness, but the entire thing is just a disaster right now because of, again, over the government mishandling money, politicians that are corrupt as all hell, and the regulations they've dumped on a lot of places is
right,
all part of the problem. And then the lazy generations getting more and more people involved. Oh, and then the push for only higher education. We literally set ourselves up for disaster by trying to make sure our kids would do better than us.
right. Well, I think that's natural. I'm going to send you a article from the Economic Policy Institute. It's the history of the federal minimum wage that has been in place for 85 years. And what's
Yep.
interesting is I don't know if I don't this did not pass, but there was a proposal in 2023 called Raise the Wage Act, and they proposed raising the minimum federal wage to $17 an hour.
I've heard about this,
Yeah,
and I think it's bullshit, and they should
exactly.
not, because
Right.
all it's going to do is make middle class become poverty,
And there's going
and
to companies to
it's
go
gonna hurt
under.
everyone.
Yeah, it's going to make a lot of companies, small businesses, to go under.
That's why I said instead of raising the minimum wage, bring back some of our manufacturing
Right.
so we can get more people into middle class jobs,
Hmm.
but we gotta be able to export more stuff, and this is where this is again, you gotta find a way to balance this without going overboard, and then you gotta get society back to work ethics.
Right.
And enough of this aid of the stupid stuff, not the stuff of providing food, but make sure the food goes directly to the people, not the government of the country that's corrupted.
Right.
I mean, there but we can't control other countries either. So how do we make this work? This is where I keep bringing up. We need to bring back more middle class jobs. So the people who've been in literally 3, 4 generations on welfare, I've seen it.
Right.
All in one home. 3
I know.
generations on welfare instead of putting some people to work.
Well, that's why I'm
It's,
saying
like,
that.
frustrating as all hell.
That's why I'm hopeful that with jobs coming back, that those people that they're going to kick off of welfare will have an opportunity to go to some of those jobs. Not everybody's going to be a fit for it, but it's the
Mhm.
answer. It's going to be the answer to some of it.
Yeah. I wanna point out, yes, the minimum wage was because of the unions, but then they started getting corrupt over the years, and I actually had to do a presentation for my business communications about the pros and cons of unions. Oh, yeah. I pissed off more than a handful of people pointing out the cons of a union. Because the one guy on my court in my group was a union steward. So of course he loved the unions, but didn't see how they hurt the rest of society. And so there is good and
Well,
bad. And but
yeah,
we again, look at the auto workers who were being crushed in machines and the families weren't being compensated. There
right,
were no safety guards, there were no safety precautions. Minimum wage did not exist. So you're getting 50 cents an hour to lift 200-pound engine blocks or heavier all
right.
day long. That's
Well,
where I agree. Unions were a really
one thing,
important
right,
thing,
and the same
but I
goes
have seen so many go sideways.
right, and I have seen unions come in for the hospital for nurses who were extremely underpaid, and despite
Yes.
discussions with management would not budge. And there's
Mhm.
also there's been a nursing shortage for, geez, what, 25 years, and it's just going to continue to. I mean, it's going to get. You think it's bad now? You have no
It's
idea.
gonna get worse
Yeah,
if,
it's going to be
things
worse.
keep going the way they are. But, like,
Correct.
even the story of my dad, where he was working with the union. First job he ever worked at with the union, and he's paying his union dues. You think they'd be representing? No, but the union sides with the frickin' factory and threatening to remove all the machines and lay everyone off.
Mm-hmm.
It would have cost them more to move the machines out and then bring them back, and they finally had to cave.
Wow.
But the union sided with the factory and screwed over all the work. We're trying to screw over the workers.
Hmm.
I've seen this kind of stuff. Yeah. I've debated many topics. Unions were one topic that required security to be present. I know it's you. Trust me. Unions are they're a necessary evil at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They are a necessary
Well,
evil, but they have started to
I'll
many
tell
of
you.
them.
I will
The
tell.
chapters are individuals and they do their own stupid things.
I mean, I
So
will
I'm sorry,
tell you
go ahead.
that I'm glad that the Department of Education is going bye byes. I mean, the teachers unions. That is. Oh my God.
Teachers, in my opinion, weren't
Oh,
getting paid enough to
but
begin with.
right.
But then again, we're also got teachers trying to raise parents' kids.
right. And
And then we
well,
get the activists.
it
Sorry.
depends on, I think, the school district, because some are more than well paid, and you have to also take into account the 3 months that they're off, depending on the school district. So,
But
uh,
I also want to know how much of those. Okay, here's the thing. School unions,
mm,
okay, they get their dues, they get all this stuff, they
right.
barter out these wages with the government, but how much are they giving the higher ups, the superintendents and all that, more money than they really
Oh,
deserve? And the teachers are the ones suffering.
well, a superintendent can make buku bucks. I mean, a lot of
But
money.
is that right? They're not.
No, it's
They, yes,
not.
they're making harder decisions and stuff, and they have to balance all this out. But at what point do they stop giving themselves a raise and be fair to the teachers?
Right. I don't disagree with that,
And
but I do. I would say that's kind of, you need to probably take a look at each area of the country and see who's
it's just
doing
so
it. I mean,
frustrating.
our school district, they make a pretty penny compared to some other school districts. Each school district is different, so there are some that they make a lot of money. I mean, a lot. Then there's other school districts where somebody will work, uh, the 9 months, and then the next three, they have to get a summer job doing something to
Oh yeah,
supplement.
I've known many teachers. My mom and dad were best friends with my kindergarten teacher. Well,
Hmm.
I wouldn't say best friends, but they also went to church with her and stuff. Her and her husband. Her husband was a cop,
Yeah.
and they barely were getting by.
Hmm.
And she taught at a private school.
Right.
No union was allowed.
Right.
And then you take in the public school teachers who get worse because at least in private school, the tuition goes to it.
Well, I've kind of seen the opposite. Here at our private schools pay less than uh, most of the so-called public schools, the ones that
Well,
have
yeah, because
unions.
it's the tuition, how many
Right.
students are paying to come there,
Right.
how much is that tuition being divided up amongst other things.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. It's a hard call, but I guess my issue with the unions would be the Randy Gardner, and I can't think of the other one's name. The screen
Yeah.
that they do, I just find totally inappropriate and not professional.
All I gotta point out, teachers' unions, have you looked at Detroit Public Schools?
Mm,
I took care of patients who had grandchildren in Detroit Public Schools.
mm-hmm.
That is mishandling of money. Buildings with leaking pipes and buckets next to the kids' desks and the desks having to be fanned around it. Walls falling apart. It's not because they don't get enough money.
Right.
It's the money's not going where it should.
Right.
This is again where I get so frustrated with all of this stuff. And more than once, Detroit talked about privatizing the schools to at least get them fixed up. But
Mm-hmm.
do you know how many times they've left abandoned buildings and just tried moving into old factories, old
Right.
hospitals to turn into schools? And it still doesn't work because instead of fixing it and maintaining it, they run it to the ground and they move to the next. Run it to the ground, move to the next. It's that culture, the throwaway culture
Uh-huh.
that I see a lot of too. Why fix my car? I can just go buy a new one. You have 30,000 laying around? Shit, what do you do for a living?
Right. I told you that, as far as, look at all this new housing that has uh, crept up around us. How do you,
Yeah.
there's a townhouse. All the townhouses are glorified row houses that we had in the city. That when we finally moved out of the projects, we moved into a rented row house, and we were luckily on the end of the rented row house.
I'm
But
going back into the chat because you're talking about what Cannabis just said. Here in New Mexico, they are building homes like crazy. However, the average cost is around 350K for a one-level
that,
home. The question is, where are these people coming from and where are they working?
that's what I want to know. That's been my thing since they started this. And the new homes, the homes are like 650 and they're sold. What the hell kind of jobs do these people have? All of the townhouses, there's a car in front of them, one or two cars. So people have already purchased them. What are they doing? That's what I want to know. What
Yep.
what kind of jobs? Now, I've heard everything from doctors, lawyers, IT is really big here.
People getting out of the city to
Yeah,
live in the country so they
right.
can ruin that area too.
Exactly. Medical
Um,
professionals. Uh
I hate to interrupt, but Cannabis, it's actually only Flint that was having the water problem, and that came from corroded pipes. And the city council of Flint opted to tap into the Detroit water without fixing the pipes. And that's what led to the pipe problem. And you would not believe how many people in Flint hated Obama because of it. Because I worked in Detroit and Flint doing home health care. I got to hear all of it, all of it. So, yes. Um, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to address that before I forgot
no,
about
you're
it.
fine. You're fine. I think we've what hour are we at? Are we at 5 o'clock?
Oh, we're already at 2 hours, and we haven't even finished this. We still have 3 minutes.
Well, don't we why don't we finish this up, and if we have any commentary, if people want to stay with us, that's fine. You can always listen afterwards. Why don't we finish this video, see if there's anything we want to say. Uh has the Discord link been thrown out perchance, Crazy B? Have you
Yes, a couple of times by the bot and, actually by Rumble bot right recently.
okay, thank
And, I think there's
you.
people on, YouTube, I can drop it again.
Okay.
But, yeah, like I said, I'm a bit frustrated with how our system has gotten.
Right.
Okay, everybody take deep breaths. You're at 2 hours. I know, but this is a tough conversation to have
Mhm.
without pointing out the pros and cons about where we're at and what we actually need to do to fix it. It is not just adding tariffs to fix this. It's not just bringing back manufacturing. We've got an entire society to fix in
Yeah,
order for it to really work.
correct.
And so that's where it's like I don't 100% side with Trump, but I can see how this will help bring some things back, but it won't do everything. And again, it's like we got to find a way to really balance all of this out. And again, I'm a staunch critic against Trump for Operation Warp Speed. Ask anyone
Hmm.
who knows me. I will lay into that for hours about how wrong that was. Um, but again, that's because I have medical background. I am not a professional economist in any way, fashion, or form, but I am seeing where we could do better instead of what we've been doing and why it should have never happened in the first place. And like
Well,
we've been talking,
he's
there's so much that weighs into this.
right, and he's not the one that created all of these problems, right? So you
But the
got to
way
give
he's
him.
going to just take a wrecking ball to it doesn't fix it
Well,
either.
I'm at the point of I feel the wrecking ball needs to have happened. We've played nice. It's time. I'm for the chaos right now. I'm for upset the apple cart. Something drastic needs to be done. People need to be woken up, and we just need to act. Now, all this shit has happened, right? All this stuff has gone on, but yet 75 countries still have come to the table. That says a lot. That means that there's a willingness to negotiate, and hopefully everybody's going to get the good deal that you're hoping for, right?
Yeah,
That's all we can do is hope that there's
that's
going to be a
all I
good
can
deal.
do. And
Correct.
it's again, we've been given a president who is
People
not
voted for
perfect.
this. People vote.
We wanted the change, and again, I'm hoping he will dial back, like how he kind of goes strong to start with.
Right.
And I hope he does dial it back and ends up just using that as you know how when you go in to negotiate a price, you
Right.
go in absolutely
Art
strong and then work it
that.
back to reasonable.
Think of
I
it.
can only hope that's what he
Yeah.
will do.
Think of it as what's it like when you go to buy a new car, right?
Yep.
Think of it in those terms. I mean, like I told you, I don't agree with everything he says. There are times I freaking cringe and go, "Oh my gosh, I'm dying here." But
Yeah.
I I I'm all for the wrecking ball, and I am not going to apologize
I wish
for
he would I
it.
wish it wasn't a wrecking ball, but more of a finessed, balancing,
That would be,
negotiate,
yeah, that
working it
would be
out.
ideal, right? That would be ideal, but we have not had anybody do that. Trump is not that person. He has the aggressive personality. Everybody, so people saw him in action for 4 years, and more than half the country voted for all of these things. Illegal immigration. He mentioned the
Yeah.
tariffs and other things, and it's probably maybe time for people to uh
This is
know
definitely a good
well
wake-up call as to how bad our country had
yeah,
actually gotten.
exactly. And between what people don't know about the differences between me and Crazy B is she's I'm old enough to probably be her mother. So that is aging myself and telling you where I'm at. I have almost 20 years on her, so my view of things has significantly changed about where we are at and what needs to be done. So where she's at, she's on. My son is 2 years younger than she is, so they are almost equal in their opinions about how things go on. And I've already lived through this. I've been through this. What is happening? My husband and I went through all of this, plus some. What there better not be any fucking nasty comments in here about ages.
No, Art, finesse. You've met Trump, right?
Okay,
I
yeah,
know. I
there better
know.
be no
I
nasty,
know.
or there'll be some shit. I will hunt you down and hurt you. Uh, but so with that difference comes just a different take on what I see that needs to be done. And so I'm for the wrecking ball. It's like, bring it on. Shit needs to happen. People need to have a fucking wake up call. And that's the bottom line. You know what? Would you like to join us? Because we don't accept people, making sideline comments. Yeah. Go ahead and
Tell him
laugh.
to grab a mic. Come
Uh huh.
on.
Yeah,
You have 2 mics.
we got another smart ass in the house. You don't know that. You don't know if we wouldn't like you or not. You should see the people in the
You
chat.
should see the conversations we've been
Yeah,
having.
yeah. Come on in, chicken.
D, that's not how the internet works. If you reply like that, people double down.
I can double down
Brent
too.
knows all too well because of my son.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, let's get through this last 3.5 minutes. And that way we're not here for another 2 hours.
You don't think this could be one of our? This could count as our Sunday fun day thing, right?
Yeah, something
You
like
know what? Would
that.
you please shut the door because you're disturbing me. I am on air. We're live. Uh-oh, here. Oh, he slammed the door. Uh-oh. We're in trouble now. All right, go ahead, Crazy B.
All right.
Thing. The whole formula and stat sheet that they're using to set the agenda and what they're going to charge other countries in reciprocal tariffs, the whole thing is wrong. The whole thing is just inaccurate. And you're setting tariff rates for other countries based on incorrect numbers and data. That's, even if you support this agenda, totally unacceptable, totally embarrassing and amateur hour. Just a few more thoughts, and shout out to y'all who've made it through this episode. I know it's probably a little wonky and a little dense, less entertaining than our normal stuff, but this is really important. It's going to impact all of us, basically anyone who buys anything, because our economy is so intertwined with the rest of the world, these tariffs are going to result in huge economic losses for average American families. I've already seen estimates about thousands of dollars of what they will cost in terms of the spending for average American families. And I just think it's a
Show me the proof.
huge unforced error for the Trump administration. I mean, President Trump, prior to the COVID pandemic, which threw a wrench in everything for understandable reasons, had a very strong economic record in his first term. There were record low unemployment levels, inflation was low, and he did that through, yes, he had some tariffs on China and a few targeted tariffs on specific things, but he didn't do an all-out trade war. He did that through typical tax cuts, deregulation, traditional conservative economic policy, which simply does not include this kind of worldwide trade war and protectionism. Why not just do the same thing again that worked last time? Why try this?
I want to point out that Trump is doing tax cuts for basically anyone under 150,000, I believe he said.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see if those go through. So again,
They're in
I'm
Congress
not
right now.
sure.
They're in Congress
Yeah, this is
right
where
now.
now mind you, oh, I want to point out this is an older video.
Right,
This is an older one from back when the tariffs were first announced.
right.
So,
But I want to see his proof. I want to see what proof does he have making the comments? Oh, I've seen where we're going to lose thousands of dollars for each family. I want to see that.
well, again, that's something that's not given, and
Exactly.
I would like to know it too. And
Uh-huh.
this is again where again, I'm pointing out where good and bad, pro and con, that's what we're working on. I found videos, and you sent me some videos too, pros and cons,
Right.
and we're going to go through them. But it's again, we got to balance this out. So 2 more minutes.
Oh, we only made it a minute. Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, a
Zip the
little over
lip.
a minute.
All right, zip the lip.
Radical different approach. It's not about, by the way, weaning off China and reducing our dependence on China, who is an adversary, because that's a goal I support. But if you really wanted to do that, you wouldn't be hitting other countries like Vietnam and South Korea that we could be trading more with instead of China to reduce our dependence on China. You wouldn't be hitting them with massive new tariffs. And this is actually, in some ways, a boon to China, who's already started connecting with some of these countries like Japan about trading more. And if you know anything about the history of China and Japan, which I don't know much, but I know a little, the fact that they're cooperating and getting along tells you something about how remarkable the moment we're living in is and just how alienating this is to our allies like Japan. People specifically voted for Donald Trump because of.
And I want to point out that he brought this up before knowing that South Korea agreed to bring Hyundai and what was it, 21 million worth
Mm-hmm.
of
Yeah,
trade
and
or worth of work to America. So this was before some of these countries did work something out. We're bringing some of their industry here. They still make a profit, but we provide workers.
right,
Will benefit both.
Didn't Japan also agree to
I don't know because I've been editing videos so much lately. I haven't really looked at any new updates.
Okay, I'm pretty sure Japan has given a lot of money.
Okay. Let's get through this last minute.
Of the economy, because of the cost of living, because prices were so outrageously high and people struggled so much to get by under Biden. And people wanted a return to Trump's first term economic policies. People do not want everything they need and buy to get more expensive. They don't want a shrinking economy. They don't want a crashing stock market or a potential recession. And this could go down as one of the biggest own goals in modern political history that unfortunately will end up hurting a lot of working class people who voted for Trump the most, because they are the ones who spend the most proportion of their income and who have the least wiggle room in their budgets to deal with the cost of living going up. It might protect some jobs in certain industries, but it will destroy far more in other industries where the cost of doing business goes up exponentially. I think the whole thing is a massive, massive mistake. But like I said at the beginning, I hope for our country's sake that I'm wrong.
And we all might be, some might be right, some might be wrong. We won't know. Foresight is a lot harder than hindsight.
Hmm. And it's always,
Time is
yeah,
always going to tell.
right. And it's easy to play, armchair quarterback, after the fact on some of this stuff. So we just have to be patient and, you know, good God, if it's going to take 10 more years to do that, wow. Anyway, where are we at, Crazy B? At 5?
We are at 2 minutes and 15 seconds and 30-ish seconds. So
uh,
I say we call it a day and we pick up more on
Tuesday.
what, Tuesday.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe we could. We got to get through all these videos. We
Yep.
have to. We have to finish. We had plans for next week, but I guess we will end it here. And we're sorry that we got off on a tangent, but I think it's necessary. I think that the tariffs discussion opened up a lot of other areas that we talked about that pertain to what is going on in the country. It just
Yeah.
isn't as Crazy B said just about tariffs. Uh, with that being said, I appreciate everybody being here and staying with us so long. Again, please, if you can, hit that like button, hit the follow button. If you can, please subscribe so that we can get out of the algorithm from YouTube and Rumble. Uh,
Mhm.
I'd appreciate that greatly. And I wish everybody a happy Easter or Passover. Uh,
Yep.
or just a happy weekend if you don't celebrate. Uh, and that's really it for me.
That's it for me too. I am
All
talked
the
out
without
and I'm just going to
chill
take it
out,
easy.
chill out.
Yep, that's basically what it's going to be. I'm going to take it easy, chill, breathe, all that fun
Yeah,
stuff,
he has to
and
because
go
tomorrow.
from there.
Yeah, tomorrow I'm in a. I don't know. I think tomorrow we're gonna try to fix the laptop, and hopefully she doesn't make me go through training before the holiday. Because she's a taskmaster at the training. So remember,
Um,
you
I
have
give you
to.
little bits. I'm not dumping it all on you at once.
Oh, lucky me, because I told her, you got to remember we're still in the laptop from 2007 that I love, and now I have a what what year is it? Crazy be a 2023, right? Laptop that I can't stand. So it's been difficult to learn, but we will get through it one way or another. So
Mhm.
she's been a great teacher at everything, and we'll get there. We'll get where we need to be. So
One day at a time, right?
that's one day at a time, correct? And like I told, and like we both have said, this is all unscripted stuff. She lives in the South, I live in the North, and we have different perspective on things. And as I mentioned, age is a factor. We really don't really talk about age too much or the differences, to be honest. But in this particular case, I thought it was important to bring up because there is a difference of the way I view things and where I'm telling you the country where we were is where it was when I got married and through the time I had my children. So I've
Mhm.
seen, uh,
You know, Art, I've used a Mac and I did go back to Windows. I do not like Apple. I've
yeah,
never cared for it. I don't like it. Sorry. I
yeah,
did. I went right back
hmm, she made me go back too. So you know.
because I can actually help you.
Exactly. Yeah, you got that right with what we have to do, right?
Because if you were using a Mac computer, I would not be able to help you at all. Me and Mac do not get along.
So, All
Uh,
I'm done then, Crazy B. You have a good Easter. Everybody else have a good one as well. And we will see you on Tuesday then.
sounds like a plan.
All right,
Peace out, guys.
take care. Bye.